and welcome back to Bear's Reading Nook. I'm Kara, and today we're going to be doing a vlog of sorts for the Japanese Pantheon, for the Pantheon Readathon that Myth Take is hosting. So first, let's just go over the TBR so that I can keep straight which books are for which one, because, you know, I'm doing two. So first we have, for thought-provoking, A Bound Woman is a Dangerous Thing, the incarceration of African-American women from Harriet Tubman to Sandra Bland. This one is interesting and also written in like poetry kind of style, so I'm excited to read this one and kind of check it out. Next we had a book featuring music, and for this one I'm doing Grown, which is audiobook, so I'm excited to read that one. That one was potentially a slight stretch because it's a murder mystery, but the main character is an up-and-coming like singer or music person in some way. I forget exactly how. Next we have featuring archery, and for that one I'm doing Sherwood, which is basically Robin Hood retelling with Robin Hood being female. Sounds interesting, chunky. We'll see how that one goes. Then we have Jurassic Park, which was for On an Island. I'm still waiting on that one from the library, so there's a chance that I may switch that one out for something else if I don't get it at some point soon. But yeah, I really want to read that one, so hopefully I get it. And finally, for featuring food and or cooking, we have Kitchen Princess, which follows the main character. I've been saying it as Najika. That's probably not even remotely close to how you say it. But basically, she ends up going to a cooking school of sorts, and yeah, it's really interesting and sounds really cool. So we'll see how I like it. Okay, so I already talked about what this is about in the intro, but I finished Kitchen Princess, and basically, I was surprised that I actually enjoyed this book. It looks kind of dated. It was, at least the omnibus came out in 2005. The English translation was 2012. So it's kind of older, but it was still really good. And basically each chapter focuses on the main character and a new recipe that she makes. And I really enjoyed that. And the recipes kind of like are tied in with a story. So like in one chapter, she makes a recipe, and it's kind of a challenge to see if she is actually as good as certain people who helped her get to the school think she is. And one thing I really like about this is that each recipe that is made in the story is actually written down so that you can try them at the end of like the various volumes. This has 2 different volumes, so there are like 2 separate recipe kind of like batches, for lack of a better word. But yeah, it's really enjoyable. I really like it, and I'm excited to continue this. That's not something I was expecting to say, so let's do this. I think what I'm going to pick up next is A Bound Woman is a Dangerous Thing. This one has just been really appealing to me, and it is rather short, so yeah, this may be what I end up picking up next for the Japanese Pantheon. Well, let's see how this goes. Okay, so time for another update of the Japanese Pantheon books. So let's start with A Bound Woman is a Dangerous Thing. So this one is a poetry collection basically about different African American women who have been bound in like, various ways from being arrested to just kind of not being heard, and like she goes into the various like ways of being bound in the preface, and this took me way longer than it should have to finish it, and I think in part that is just like I think that's a me thing, because I appreciate what the author was doing. It just didn't land there for me. Like, basically, I went in thinking that this was going to be more educational, and originally I didn't think it had poetry. Then I thought it was just going to be poetry, and then when I saw that there were pictures and like little blurbs about the people, I thought that it was going to be educational in that way, and for some of them, they were, but for others, it just felt weird because it was quotes from a book that she'd used for research, and I didn't feel like I got the story of who the person was or, like, why they were potentially in here. But that's just a me thing. Like, this book is definitely powerful, and I think it's good. It just did not... Because of what I thought this book was going to be, it didn't land it for me. But honestly, I think you guys should definitely check this out. This is nonfiction, so it doesn't have a rating. Okay, next is Sherwood, and this is a Robin Hood reimagining, where basically Marion is the one being Robin Hood. And basically we learn in the prologue that Robin has died in battle, and so the first half of the book is basically... Marion working to help one of her maids with something, and the second half is kind of where it becomes more like Robin Hood-ish. Like, definitely Robin Hood shows up in the first half of the book, but like for me, I've not read like any sort of Robin Hood book before. The only Robin Hood that I know about is the Disney cartoon, and so things related to that show up more in like the second half. But I really enjoyed this. There were certain parts where my like mind would wander off, and I'd have to like kind of clue back in and like read back up a little bit to make sure I got what was going on. But overall, I really enjoyed this, and I thought it was really good, and this is a 4-star for me. I feel like when we got through the first half, I was almost like, what are we gonna do now? And then between that, as well as me kind of like every so often just like not focusing on it, is why it's a 4-star and not a 5, but I really enjoyed this. And finally, I think I mentioned it in the Path of Beauty. I think I mentioned it in the Path of Beauty, but one of the books that I'm supposed to be reading for this Pantheon books is Grown, and I am still waiting on the audiobook to become available, so I am switching that one out for Muted, and if Grown comes in, then I'll try to read that, but like at this point I'm just switching out Grown and having Muted in there instead to make sure that I can actually complete the Japanese Pantheon. And oh my goodness, Muted. I know books. Muted, so I listened to it on audiobook, and it is narrated by the author, and I definitely recommend the audiobook because since it is music related, there are also various points in the audiobook where like songs are actually like performed, and it is really well done. This book is really good, but also has a lot of trigger warning stuff, which in the audiobook at least, it listed like all the various things that would potentially be triggers, which I thought was really nice. There is a good bit of stuff, but I really enjoyed this. So Muted follows Denver and her best friend, who are working with an up-and-coming R&B star to basically get their music, get their voices out there, and they decide that they will do whatever it takes to get their music and voices out there. And then at one point something happens and they have to decide if it's still worth it or not. It is so good. Like, this book is so good. It is a 5-star for me. Like, so good. And part of the reason why it's so good, I can't even say because that would potentially be spoilers. But I really enjoyed this book, and I was, like, hooked the entire time. I enjoyed every bit of the book, and it is so good. So good. So the only book left for the Japanese Pantheon is Jurassic Park, which finally came in. Yay! I'm excited to read that one. Okay, let's talk about Jurassic Park. So this is a book that I was really interested in reading because dinosaurs, and because I've seen the movie a good few times growing up, and I was wanting to see how the book kind of like took the story, because basically for me, movies and books can do different things, and so I was trying to see how the book kind of explained various things and how they kind of created Jurassic Park in a story. And it wasn't my favorite. I think part of the reason I had issues with it was just there was a lot of science at the beginning. There was a lot of jumping around to various perspectives, which normally I'm fine with. I just feel like sometimes they jumped around too much. And they also did a thing which to me was kind of annoying, where they would explain something in a very heavy scientific way, using like big science words type of thing, and then they would be like, one of the characters would basically be like, English please, and they would explain it again in a more easily understood way right after they explained it already in a science way. So that was a little annoying for me. Also, it was kind of slow. Like, it took a good 120-ish pages, I think, to even get to a point where everyone was together and they were basically on Jurassic Park Island getting a tour, basically. So yeah, that was real slow for me. Was not a fan of that. Overall, I did still, like, I enjoyed it enough to continue reading, although I did think about DNFing it a few times, but I was already over halfway at that point, so I felt like I had to finish. Anyway, so this probably ended up being about 3 stars for me. Like, it was an average read. Wasn't excited about the science at the beginning. It was slow, but there was a good chunk in the later half of the book that I actually appreciated. I wouldn't say that I loved it, but I did enjoy kind of like how that came about in various ways and differences from the movie and the book. So yeah. Also, there was something that happened at the end that I was extremely happy about, but that's spoilers, so not saying what that is. But yeah, overall, it was an okay read, and that is the Japanese Pantheon done. This one took a little bit more time simply because Jurassic Park took a while to come in, and it took me a little bit to read that one, but it's done. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time in the Bear's Nook. Bye!